here on the broadcast. That's the first coach coming up. So I'll show you the face here. Newman's in the dark. That's where Newman has to sit when he's not on the broadcast yet. He has to sit in the corner away from everything. So, no, I'm kidding. But we're here this morning. Very excited to have you here on Facebook Live, facebook.com/livenowdt. Thank you to all of our listeners, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, featured on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. And on Fridays, you know that we do live video in the studio. We're looking to do more. Collectible Corner was the first segment of Wake Up Call to ever put on live on Facebook Live. And now we're going to have the American Athletic Conference coaches. Our next video today is going to be the ACC coaches. And then after that, the Syracuse team. We're going to hear from Dino Babers, Eric Dungy, as well as Jarvion Howard and Mo Neal. And then from there, we're going to get into some other really cool stuff. So I'm very excited, very, very appreciative of this moment. And I thank you so much for tuning in to the broadcast. So without further ado, let's step into our first coach of the American Athletic Conference that we're going to hear from today, and that is Mr. Sonny Dykes. You're going to hear my questions to Sonny Dykes and his direct answers to those questions right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And so I'm very appreciative to have him on the show, and I thank him so much for his time. With that being said, Sonny Dykes has his first win ever as the head coach of SMU, 4 games into the season, defeated Navy on the road at Navy. And here is our Q&A.
Get that first victory for you at SMU, and just what you can say about, I know that you guys have been close in other games here, and just what, this victory means for the team, what it does for the morale and moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that has been, really, has been kind of our philosophy since we took over as a coaching staff has just been, let's just get better, let's improve. And, we set the bar really low in week 1. And we played, because I felt like we didn't play. I felt like we played about 3 good plays in the first game against North Texas. And again, North Texas had a lot to do with that. But we didn't feel like we played well. And then week 2, against TCU, we felt like we played well at times. We didn't. We wasn't as good as we needed to have a chance to beat a top 20 football team. And then same thing week 3. We felt like we were learning how to compete. We felt like we were playing harder. All those kind of things that if you don't play hard, you're not going to beat anybody in college football. That's the thing I think that we know as coaches, and sometimes the players don't believe it. But if we play like we played against North Texas, against Houston Baptist, I mean, we'll lose, and we'll lose big. And so you just have to get ready to play. That's just part of what you do. And so, we just wanted to get better, and we talked to our players about just trusting the process and learning how to play, with fanatical effort and what that looks like and what our expectations are. And some things fell into place for us, and our guys just kept playing hard, even though we made some mistakes. We had an opportunity against Navy to go up, 10 points if we kick an extra point, and the extra point gets blocked and returned for a 2-point conversion, and all of a sudden, you're about to be 2 scores ahead of Navy. Their offense is not necessarily built to score fast. With 7.5 minutes to go in the game, instead now it's a 1-possession game, and so we made some mistakes that really hurt us. But I was proud of our guys for, just keeping their head down and playing harder and being disciplined and all the things that you have to do to give yourself a chance to win. And so it's a process for us right now to go through that, to do those things. But I think we got better.
And then as far as William Brown and Ben Hicks, just what you can say about, utilizing them moving forward and just what you've taken away from starting with Hicks, working in Brown, and then obviously Hicks doing some good things in this game, but Brown having the majority of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always the same thing. I think you got to go with your feel a little bit, and I just felt like, Will's a true freshman, and everyone in our program believes in Will. I think he responded incredibly well to an adverse situation in the Michigan game in front of 110,000 people. it was his first significant action. He, that never bothered him, didn't concern him. I felt like at the end of that game Saturday, where we were banged up at running back. 2 of our 3 running backs were out of the game with injuries. Braden West had carried the ball, had touched it, 35 times and was, worn out. And so I felt like, look, we need to throw the ball in order to be able to score here. And so I just felt like Ben gave us the best opportunity to win the game. So we went that way, and Ben did exactly what you would expect a veteran quarterback to do. He came in, he made good decisions, he got the ball to our playmakers, and we were able to convert that 2-point play. And so, I think both quarterbacks give us an opportunity to win. They're different in their skill set and their strengths and their weaknesses, which is also good for us. I think it allows us to evolve as an offense. But the thing that's so important to us is we're trying to teach the importance of practice and practicing well to our players. And so what we'll do this week is we'll roll the ball out, let those 2 guys compete for the job, see who wins it, and go play a game on Saturday and, do it all over again next week.
That coming from Sonny Dykes of SMU. The SMU Mustangs, like I said, winning their first game of the season in 4 tries and first game in the Sonny Dykes era at SMU down in Texas. They will host Houston Baptist on Saturday, September 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN3, a.k.a. Watch ESPN. So that is from Sonny Dykes. Moving on to our next coach here, who is Geoff Collins of Temple. We'll move into my Q&A with Geoff Collins of Temple right here, right now on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, heading into week 5 of college football.
Look at the defensive side of the ball for you through these first 4 games, an interception in every single game at least, multiple ones most recently. Just what you could say about your team's ability to spy on the quarterback, obviously know that film, and to make the most of those opportunities with takeaways every single game so far.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been a high priority for us. This defensive scheme, is built to create mayhem and create chaos, to cause confusion for the quarterbacks, and to create turnovers. I didn't feel that we had done that enough last year, but Coach Stacker and the rest of the defensive staff and our defensive players, the defensive leaders, really focusing on creating turnovers, getting the ball, and it's not just interceptions. Those are going to come. They're really good players, but the big thing is creating turnovers, creating fumbles, and that was one of the biggest things that I was proud of. We actually forced a couple of more that either went out of bounds or they, were a half a step to the ball before us to recover. So there were more balls on the ground, but we want to cause fumbles, strip the ball out, create takeaways, and that is a huge emphasis on everything that we do in this program, from our coaches to our players, everybody in the organization.
And I wanted to ask you about a guy that we spoke about early on in the season, safety Rodney Williams, just what you've seen through the first 4 games from his play so far.
Yeah, I think he's gotten better every single week, gotten more comfortable in the scheme, understanding leverage, understanding where his help is. And, he played 95 plays last Thursday night, and he's not 100% healthy, but he's out there battling. He's really embraced our culture of being tough, being physical, and just really proud of him. So glad that he's here on our football team, and he's one of the leaders, and does a tremendous job in teaching the young guys how to go about their business. Him and Rocky Yasin, if you put the man hours that they put in studying their opponent, working on their craft, working on their game, it's astronomical. So that the young guys in this program, the young DBs especially, are learning how to play at a high level just by watching Rodney Williams and Rocky Yasin and Delvon Randall, how they prepare to be elite DBs in college football.
That coming from Geoff Collins. Once again, Geoff Collins speaking on Rodney Williams, who is a former Syracuse safety who transferred for his final season of eligibility to Temple. And Temple will be on the road at Boston College. Two teams that definitely are doing better things than maybe nationally they get the respect and appreciation for. The Temple Owls doing what they're doing under Geoff Collins in his second season, And Steve Edsall, 4 out of the last 5 years, going to a bowl game with Boston College. Right before he was with Boston College, he was with Temple, and he helped lead Temple back into the Big East the season before it dissolved, which allowed Temple to move forward and become part of the American Athletic Conference. So there is a connection with Steve Edsall here, and definitely two teams that are gritty, that'll get after it, a Philly team and a Boston team. And I think this game is going to be one of the better ones, so you should watch it. ESPNU and watch ESPN Saturday, September 29th at noon Eastern time. With that being said, the next coach we have coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora that I had a Q&A with this week from the American Athletic Conference is Major Applewhite of Houston, and this is what we had to say when we had the opportunity to speak with each other this week in Week 5 of college football.
To look at, like you said, could have come out lackluster. The team did not. Just what you can say about the explosivity of the team this season, and at the same time, their focus. So being explosive all throughout, the phases of the game that you have, but also being able to zero in on who they have that week and treat every week like 0-0.
I mean, it's work for these 12 games, and you spend countless hours. I mean, it's a lot of practice. We counted over 100, and 100 practices, fall, spring, in-season practices for these 12 games. And, we need to be grateful. When we talk about that as a team, be grateful for these opportunities to go out and prove yourself as a team. It doesn't make any sense to spend all this time and all this energy through junior high and high school and off-season and workouts to be given this opportunity to play college ball and have one of your 12 games on a Saturday and not be excited for it. So we spent a lot of time talking about being grateful about it. And then we, really dive into our opponents, and we talk about specifically what we've got to do offensively, defensively, but specifically by position and what we need to do by individuals to win our one-on-one matchups. And so it brings a personal level to the game. 3 of the 4 games that we played this year, we've been very successful. With that one game we haven't been, but our approach and how we take on our opponents and respecting everybody and giving them value as opponents, regardless of where they're ranked or what's said about them, is important in terms of going about your preparation.
And obviously, King has played well so far this season for you, but Clayton Tune got to get in and get some reps. Just speak on the importance of those reps for the freshman and just what you took away from him at quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's immeasurable to get out there in a game and take real hits at real speed. It will serve him very well January through next August in terms of just how he studies film, how he prepares. I remember as a redshirt freshman going out and playing my first game against New Mexico State in backup duty. And the second game I played in, our starter got hurt. I was thrown into a game in the Rose Bowl against UCLA out there. And just those 4, 5, 6 snaps in the first game took away some nerves, took away some anxiety, helped me understand, how the ball is coming up on the snap, how fast everything's moving. And I think that's immeasurable at all positions. But from Clayton's standpoint, just how to operate, how to get in and out of plays, play clock, like I said, that'll serve him very well January through August. The intensity and the preparation that he'll have next spring and offseason will be more real for him. I think it'll help him more.
That coming from Major Applewhite of Houston in our Q&A with one another on the American Athletic Teleconference this week. I want to thank the AAC, as always, for providing the teleconference opportunity for people like myself so that we can do what we need to do and get the coverage out to you, the fans, all across the country and around the world. So thank you so much to the AAC, Chuck Sullivan, and the entire team for that. Houston is off this week. They will next play on October 4th against Tulsa. That game will be at home in Houston at 8 p.m. Eastern time on what they like to call ESPN. So ESPN, it'll be on there, and I believe that is a Thursday night game that we're going to see. And that game, yes, in fact, it is Thursday night. So next Thursday, you will see them go up against one another, that being Tulsa at Houston. And being on the other side of that matchup, speaking of Tulsa at Houston, Philip Montgomery is another coach I had the opportunity to speak with from the American Athletic Conference. This is what Philip Montgomery had to say when we got to speak this week.
Taylor and Brooks, and we've spoken about in the past, within the last couple of weeks, just what you can say about, how they're looking going into this bye week and just what you're seeing from your rushing attack and what you've taken away, because I know you've had some high praise for them and the work that they've put in, just what you're seeing from them early on this season.
Yeah, I think both those guys are talented. I mean, we got to be more consistent up front, give them a little bit more room to get through some things. We haven't been as explosive in our running game as I would like us to be. I know those guys can do that, but I think we have a good 1-2 punch with them. I think they're both physical runners. They both got the speed to take it to the house. We've used them a little more in our passing game, trying to find different ways to get them the ball. But they're two guys that I think can generate some yards for us and generate some explosive plays for us. We got to stay healthy there. You know, Shamari was banged up last week. This will be a good week to hopefully try to get him back to his full strength as possible and continue to keep building.
And you spoke about, obviously the amount of plays that you ran most recently, but you have to be able to convert and get it done. Just what you're seeing on film from the team through these first few games, as far as, the amount of plays that you are able to run, but in some of these quarters, not consistently being able to put points on the board, just what you're taking away when you look back at the film.
Yeah, I really think it's us. We've got to eliminate whether it's a stupid penalty that we have that puts us behind the chains and or turnovers. I mean, turnovers has been the key. We've had 10 the last 2 weeks. You shouldn't have that over the course of a season. We've done it in 2 weeks. And so, you get drives started, you're generating momentum, you're doing what you want to, and then we do something silly and put the ball on the ground or make a poor decision. So we've got to take care of the football, and then when we get down in the red zone, you got to convert. And we've been decent at that. We've got to do a better job in our special teams of, if you don't get a touchdown out of that drive, you've got to get points. And, we've got to do better in the kicking game when we get down there. But besides that, it goes back to turnovers and penalties. And those are things that we can control, and we've got to do a better job of controlling them.
That's coming from Heupel Montgomery of Tulsa. Tulsa will next be in action, as I just said, at Houston on Thursday, October 4th. And coming up next in the broadcast is my Q&A with Charlie Strong. Charlie Strong of South Florida. I got to meet him and interview him for the first time when he was in his last season at Louisville. He decided to go to Texas, and I said, I give it 3 years, and I think they're going to fire him, because I just had that vibe about Texas. I thought he should have stayed in Louisville. And after 3 seasons, almost to the T, that's when they let him go, and he's at South Florida. Willie Taggart built something good in South Florida. Charlie Strong's been able to continue it. I always appreciate my time with Charlie Strong and respect him for the work that he's put forward thus far. And we had an opportunity to speak this week, and this is what Charlie had to say to me about what's going on with his team. So I want to jump into this with Charlie Strong.
Take a look at, when you came into South Florida, just what you saw with Willie Taggart going out, you coming in, what you saw from day one to what you see today, just the improvement, the progression from that first day to where the team is right now. I know you're not where you want to be, and there's plenty of season left to go, but a 4-0 start for this season, just what you can say about day one to now.
Well, anytime you take over a program, it's a lot of change. And it's, a lot of players are going to come, a lot of them are going to go. Our first year is a lot of seniors, and you lose a whole lot when you talk about with Q on offense, your quarterback, and with Augie on defense. Those were mainstays in the program and have been the team leader for 3 years, and now those guys are gone. So the second year this year is all about us, finding those leaders and developing those leaders, but getting young men to grow and let them understand that this is their team, and with getting them to buy into it, in which they've done a really good job. And I can only, I'm so glad we're in the position we're in right now, but we're in this position because of the players and their responsibility and accountability they've taken upon themselves.
You speak on that leadership, offense, defense, and special teams. Who are some of those guys that have started to elevate themselves to be those leaders for you?
Well, it's not really someone who's really done stepped out, but guys are playing well. Like you always you want your seniors to play well their senior year, and you look at on defense. You take McKee, who's playing well for us, and in the back end. Hoggins is playing really well for us. And then on offense, Mays, our tackle, is playing well for us. So you want the seniors to play well. We don't have a lot of seniors, but the ones that are playing, they are contributing.
That coming from Charlie Strong. And I want to go back to Philip Montgomery for a second here, because we did have more from Philip Montgomery that I want to make sure we get to. So let me go back to Philip Montgomery and to my second question with Philip Montgomery. My apologies on this.
The amount of plays that you ran most recently, but you have to be able to convert and get it done. Just what you're seeing on film from the team through these first few games, as far as, the amount of plays that you are able to run, but in some of these quarters, not consistently being able to put points on the board, just what you're taking away when you look back at the film.
Yeah, I really think it's us. We've got to eliminate whether it's a stupid penalty that we have that puts us behind the chains and or turnovers. I mean, turnovers has been the key. We've had 10 the last 2 weeks. You shouldn't have that over the course of a season. We've done it in 2 weeks. And so, you get drives started, you're generating momentum, you're doing what you want to, and then we do something silly and put the ball on the ground or make a poor decision. So we've got to take care of the football, and then when we get down in the red zone, you got to convert. And we've been decent at that. We've got to do a better job in our special teams of, if you don't get a touchdown out of that drive, you got to get points. And, we've got to do better in the kicking game when we get down there. But besides that, it goes back to turnovers and penalties. And those are things that we can control, and we've got to do a better job of controlling them.
That coming from Philip Montgomery, once again, of Tulsa. You just heard from Charlie Strong. His team will next be available for play. He's got the week off, a bye week this week. They will be at UMass, so they'll be going up to Massachusetts on Saturday, October 6th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's South Florida at UMass. South Florida, one of the few teams left in college football of 130 teams that is 4-0 to start this season, including a win over the ACC's Georgia Tech. Coming up next on the broadcast here with my Q&As, you're listening in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, just like you do every Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And you're also watching on Live Now DT on Facebook. That's facebook.com/live now DT. Our first opportunity of sharing with you this video style of hearing from the coaches, seeing the ticker and seeing the picture of the coach to give you something for your eyes to see while you're tuning in to the broadcast and my Q&As here in significant sound bites of the week. Next up is Randy Edsall of the UConn Huskies, and here's my conversation with Randy Edsall, who just finished up playing up against Syracuse.
Just to speak on in that Syracuse game, David Pindell obviously was out there for a while, and then Marvin Washington came in. Just what you saw from Marvin and what you think of both of the guys going forward, because I know Marvin was able to get you down the field and do some good things despite the loss.
I had to answer this yesterday on our local reporters. There's no quarterback controversy. I took David out, because of where we were in the game. David is an outstanding quarterback. He's done the things that you've seen him do. Marvin went in and made a very good throw on the first play and then made mistakes throughout there. Marvin is our backup quarterback, and we want to get Marvin to get better each and every day. And David's our starting quarterback, and David has played extremely well this year. Things he's got to work on, but it's great that we were able to get Marvin some snaps, get some plays under his experience log, and that's all I have to say.
And then as far as UConn and in the Syracuse game, Syracuse is a team, historically that's done some good things, but has taken some time to work to get back. UConn, same type of team, that had some good moments in the past that's working to get back. Just what you can say about what you're seeing from this team, despite the record of, that work to build the culture and build the environment and create that culture of winning. Just what you're seeing maybe be put in place the second time around for you at UConn.
Well, I think any time that, it's well documented, and you kind of get tired of talking about it each and every week. We're a young football team, and we're playing the young guys. They're not big enough. They're not strong enough yet. And these are the things you have to go through when you're rebuilding a program. and you're playing your best guys, and those guys have, especially on defense, those guys shouldn't be playing, but they are because they're the best guys you have, and you're going against teams that are senior and junior laden, and it makes it tough. But the one thing I do like, the kids are playing hard. They're giving us everything they have. You can see them getting better, each week. And now what we have to do is try to get consistent, all the time with everything we're doing. And, and some of the issues that we're having is because of the people that we're playing. When you take a look at the schedule and you take a look at the records of those people and the teams that they have, the people we're playing have a lot to do with, maybe us not making some of the, being a little bit inconsistent with what's happening. So, it's something I've been through before, and, the one thing we're going to do, we're going to make sure we do it the right way. There is no easy fix. We can't go out and get a bunch of transfers and do a lot of those type of things maybe other schools can do due to some of the academic requirements that we have here. So, again, we're just going to do it like I did it before, where you do it with young guys, and you get them in your program, and you build them up, and you get them strong, and then hopefully by the time they become fourth or fifth year seniors, you'll be able to redshirt some of these guys coming in later on, and then you'll get the program where you want to get it.
That coming from UConn head coach Randy Edsall, who was just on the other side of the Syracuse game, 51-21, trying to rebuild the program and do it the right way. And I do truly believe that Randy Edsall is going to help fix UConn. I do believe that. I do believe that, he is somebody, he's come back around, unfinished business, so to speak, maybe. For him, this is a new journey. It's a new quest. And I think that there's some good that's going to come out of this. I think there's a lot of good that will come out of it for UConn as they step forward. They do have a big, tall task coming up, though, and they're trying to play spoiler. Cincinnati is going to UConn this Saturday, September 29th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the CBS Sports Network. For those of you that have Rectrum, and obviously I am doing a little play on words there. It rhymes with Rectrum. For those of you that have that cable channel, we don't get CBS Sports Network, and you can't even stream it, and sometimes it gets blacked out. So I want to watch this game, but there is a little issue with that. So maybe that changed, maybe that's fixed. I would love the opportunity to see Cincinnati at UConn. Big-time game for UConn as they try to get on top of things here. UConn is currently 1-3 on the season, and then Cincinnati on their side of it are 4-0 as they've started off the season. Luke Fickell will be on the show in just a little bit. But like I said, I do believe that Randy Edsall is going to do some good things with UConn, the former Syracuse running backs coach. Next up is my Q&A with Scottie Montgomery of East Carolina. The East Carolina Pirates on the season are currently 1-2 overall. Had one of their games canceled due to the storm. And I had the opportunity to catch up with Scottie Montgomery, and this is our conversation.
Look into this matchup. I know you're coming off of the close one that you were just talking about with South Florida. Old Dominion's coming off of a victory over Virginia Tech. Just what you see from them on film and what you can say about that matchup.
Well, they're really, really big on offense at the skill position, not only in their interior, but skill position. You got Jonathan Duhart, 6'3", 210-pound wide receiver. You got Travis Fulgham, another 6'3", 215-pound receiver. Jeremy Cox at the running back position, 6 foot, 235 pounds. Great feet. I thought they played lights out against Virginia Tech. I thought they played really well throughout the season. Just had a few things that go against them. And then, defensively, what they do, they're very, very aggressive. I thought they've done a good job at the corners, putting a lot of pressure on guys. They've gotten some pass interferences called here or there, but it's all because of the way that they're playing aggressive football. I think their most two talented players on defense is number 7 and number 2, two seniors that they've had in their program for a while. Get off the ball well, both 6'4", 6'5", 255. Do a really, really good job there. And, I think their defensive front is basically where they get all their energy on the defense from. Because of the seniors that they have there, they're playing 3 out of 4 seniors there, and they play really, really well together. They're playing fast in the back end, so it's going to be one of those games where we got to come out and play our A game.
And then for you, Reed and Holton, just what you can say about your quarterbacks, what you took away from the most recent game, and just your thoughts on moving forward, knowing that they both can offer you something different.
You know, we struggled a little bit with Reed in our passing game when he lost a little bit of his mobility. We ran a quarterback draw that was a big-time run for us down there late in the second quarter, and he got turned up down to the bottom of the pile. His ankle got twisted, and we lost a little bit of mobility, which in turn affected the way we played the second half, I believe. Also, it affected our accuracy. He was a lot more accurate than he had. But we can throw it and catch it really well with Reed. He also can help us in the run game. We got to get him back to 100%, that's for sure. And then, you know, Holton is a guy that we're growing his play every week. We've added a couple of more things. I think he's getting a little bit close to being 100% game ready for all the quarterback stuff that we can throw at him. We just got to continue to grow him. And they do offer different things. I do think that our ability to run the football has really changed. It's been day and night since last year to this year. And a lot of that has to do with what Holton's been able to give us while he's in the game.
That coming from Scottie Montgomery of East Carolina. Next coach up on the docket here in my American Athletic Conference conversations, courtesy of the AAC teleconference, is Coach Willie Fritz of the Tulane Green Wave. And I want to make a note here really quick about East Carolina. East Carolina will be home against Old Dominion at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN3. That's Watch ESPN. Big-time game. Old Dominion's coming off of a victory over Virginia Tech, where Josh Jackson, the starting quarterback, God bless him, and let's hope that he gets better soon, went down with an injury. Old Dominion got the victory, and now they're going at East Carolina, and East Carolina was able to steal one away from North Carolina earlier, 41-19 this season, and played a close one against South Florida. So this will be a good game, and one of those games that may not be on the national wire to circle, but you should definitely circle and watch Old Dominion at East Carolina this week. The next one that we have to talk with is Willie Fritz of Tulane, the Green Wave, and coming up right now is our conversation with Willie Fritz, and I thank Willie Fritz for taking some time with me as always. This is what Willie Fritz had to say heading into Week 5.
Just to come up, I mean, this being your first conference game that you'll have this season coming up against Memphis, just what you can say you learned from your non-conference schedule, your big takeaways that you saw on film from those 4 games.
Well, you know, we played a tough non-conference schedule, without question, with Wake Forest. You know, UAB's probably going to have a chance to play in another bowl game this year, a very experienced team. And then Nichols is having a good run, you know, at the 1AA level. So, very good non-conference. And then you add Ohio State to the mix. So, it's got us tested and battle-tested and ready to play a tough conference schedule. You know, open it up with Memphis, one of the, you know, top teams, I guess, for like the last 5-6 years in the AAC.
And when you look at your team on paper, just what you can say about, you know, some of those guys, despite the 1-3 start, that maybe have offered you that leadership. I know you and I have spoken on Jonathan Banks in the past, but, you know, offense, defense, and special teams, if you're seeing some leadership step up despite this 1-3 start and just what that means to the team at this point.
Yeah, we really have. You know, defensively, we got a trio of seniors that I think have played well and are doing a good job every day in practice and preparation for every ball game. Zach Harris, linebacker for us, Rod Tevers playing at a really high level, and Donnie Lewis, the corner, is playing at a high level for us. And, you know, offensively, it's kind of been a different guy each week, but a couple guys that have been consistent in their preparation and playing up to their ability level week in and week out. Darnell Mooney and also Terran Alcala. I've been impressed with both those guys. And, you know, we've done some good things in the kicking game. We just got to do a little better job in the return game. And then we got to do a great job this week with coverage. We've got one of the top kick returners in the country, first-team All-American last year. And then they also do a great job with their punt return game also.
Thanks, Coach.
That coming from Willie Fritz of Tulane. Willie Fritz of Tulane is going to be going up against Memphis at home in Tulane. Memphis at Tulane is tonight, Friday, September 28th on ESPN2 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So on the other side of that matchup is, of course, Mike Norvell of Memphis. And Mike Norvell is next up on the docket here with us to give us his thoughts on his team as we head into Week 5. This is what he had to say to me this week.
Obviously, there's a lot of emphasis on, from the outside looking in, on your offense and the high-powered ability of that offense. But just what you can say about your defense in each of these 4 games, either by interception or by fumble recovery, has been able to grab that, get the possession and take the turnover and put it on your side. Just what you can say about defensively, what you've seen through the first 4 games and the takeaways you've had up at this point.
That's a major emphasis on our football team, and something that we believe in defensively is trying to have the explosive play, create more possessions for our offense, and usually with pretty good field position. This last game, I thought we did a nice job as a football team in general. We were 100% ball security on offense, and we were able to create a couple takeaways there on the defensive side of the ball. And that's something that we need to continue to emphasize, continue to improve on. Uncharacteristically, that's something we haven't done as well these first 4 games as what we've been accustomed to in our first couple of years. So we're emphasizing it daily. Our kids believe in it, and we continue to work to do a better job in every aspect.
We know that this offense can score points. What are you seeing on film through the first 4 games that are some of those pillars of the positive play you've had so far offensively, some of those maybe small nuances that people might overlook with your offense?
I love the balance. I think we're averaging close to 300, if not a little bit more than 300 yards rushing a game. We're still throwing for over 260 yards. So, we're able to take what the defense gives us. We've been able to have the tough runs there at the end of the game and the explosive plays that is really been impressive, along with the explosive qualities of what we've been able to do. We've also been able to sustain drives. And, I don't know the exact number count, but I want to say it's probably 5 or 6 different 10-plus play touchdown drives that we've had this early in the season, along with the explosive plays, is something that we want to have a great balance with.
Coming from the head coach of the Memphis Tigers, Mike Norvell. Once again, Memphis will be at Tulane up against Willie Fritz tonight, Friday, September 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN 2. Memphis is 3-1 after a 1-point loss to Navy, 22-21. Tulane is 1-3 and looking to bounce back after being blown out by Ohio State, who, with Dwayne Haskins, has turned out to be one heck of a quarterback for the team. He was recruited by Syracuse, recruited by probably most of the nation, and ultimately chose Ohio State. Willie Fritz, and this is the thing, I don't think that game should be a litmus test of what Willie Fritz can do. Willie Fritz and this team play close. They're kind of like Tulsa. They play close in a lot of games and may not get the victory, but they're right there in the game. With the game against Ohio State, that was a game that just went in the favor of Ohio State, but I think Tulane is better than what you're seeing from that. And obviously Mike Norvell of Memphis has done some good things in his time with the Memphis Tigers. Justin Fuente helped build that program up, then went over to Virginia Tech, and continuing to build that program has been Mike Norvell, who just signed an extension and an agreement to stay. Instead of leaving and going somewhere else, he decided to stick with this program, which I thought meant something big and could potentially mean something for the rest of the league, for the American Athletic, if he starts a trend of, instead of going to another school and utilizing instead of going to another school that's already built, or a conference that's already built, or inside of the Power 5, and just continuing the status quo or continuing to build it, being in a place where you can build something, create something, and make something tremendously amazing and have that be on your name, may be better for somebody like Mike Norvell. It's going to be better for someone somewhere, either the coaches that are there or coaches that will come in. Somebody's going to want to stick around in the American Athletic and build this brand instead of going somewhere else to a brand that's already built. So Mike Norvell deciding to stay, and I commend him for that. Coming up next is Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell was on Ohio State's staff under Urban Meyer. He decided to move forward to Cincinnati, and going to Cincinnati, believing that he could help move this program and elevate this program, progress this program forward. And last season, the team struggled to a 4-8 season. This season, they've already matched their wins in 4 games. They were 4-8 last year. They're 4-0 this year. Speaking of the Cincinnati Bearcats, who I said will be at UConn this Saturday. And Cincinnati went to UCLA, beat them, went to Miami of Ohio, defeated them, then went home to play Alabama A&M and defeated them, and most recently defeated Ohio at home. They'll be on the road at UConn at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Here is Luke Fickell to speak with me on the 4-0 Cincinnati Bearcats.
In the season, in your first season with Cincinnati, won 4 games, went 4-8 on the season. You already have 4 games and 4 tries this season. Just what you can say about the maturation process and what you've seen from the guys already equaling your wins from last year as you look to obviously build upon that.
Well, yeah, I think it just starts inside the locker room. I think obviously we're playing better ball. We're playing better on the field on Saturdays. We practice better and those kinds of things. But I think all the stuff that you build inside that locker room, those guys that truly believe in what it is that you're doing, they have a passion not just for the game but for their teammates and their brothers, and that goes so far. That's what makes your practices better. That's what makes your your Friday nights better. That those guys have relationships and things like that, which then in turn gives you a better opportunity for us even to use the off-season time that was allowed with those 2 hours. A lot of ownership in those guys because they want to be around each other. I think we're fortunate enough to use that in a very good way, and our leaders used it in a very good way. And it gave us an opportunity to grow and to become better football players when we went to camp, because there wasn't as much teaching and trying to develop the relationships. We had a lot more time to focus on football.
What is it, in your opinion, of Cincinnati when you came in? Obviously, Tommy Tuberville, when he was going out, the team was trending downward. You came in and had to try and turn it in the other direction. What is it about this year and this team and this environment of the players that you have and the coaches that you have that are starting to change the tide, in your opinion, at this point?
Well, I think, change is inevitable. There's always going to be change no matter what it is, whether it's a coach, whether it's a coordinator, whether it's a system, whether it's a player graduates. It's growth that's, I really believe, is optional. And, guys got to make a decision to be able and willing to grow in the ways that you want them to grow, and the longer that takes, I think the longer it is to transition, the culture and the things that you want to get. And, you got to give them a lot of credit that, not that we're where we want to be and we still got a long way to go, but, they've accepted the change and, actually embraced the change in the way we do things. Not that one way is better than others, but you got to have your way and you got to be consistent in what you're doing. And until you get guys to not just believe and buy in, but embrace it, I think it makes it very difficult. And I think that's, what has really, really helped us. We've got some of those older guys that are playing well for us, and they're not just playing well because they're good football players, but they've embraced all the different things and the cultures and what our expectations are for them on a daily basis.
Thanks, Coach.
That coming from Luke Fickell of Cincinnati. Once again, the Bearcats are 4-0 and will be going to Connecticut to face UConn this weekend. The final coach that we have in this portion of the show for significant sound bites inside a wake-up call with Dan Tortora and this video on facebook.com/live-now-DT is my conversation with Josh Heupel of UCF. He's in his first season with UCF, and the team has continued on doing what they were doing, which is have winning ways. Under Scott Frost, they had an undefeated season last season, and as of right now, they are 3-0 to start the season. Their game against North Carolina was canceled due to the hurricane, and God bless once again to everybody. Hope that everyone is safe and sound and that are rebuilding well, that you have the money, the time, the energy to do what you need to do, and more than anything else, that your well-being in all ways, shape, and form is okay and is good. And to anybody that's passed away due to the hurricane or anything recently, we pray for your soul to be in heaven and for God to be with you and with all of your loved ones and for you to all be together even in death in this moment. So, and in every moment. God bless each and every single one of you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God bless. With that being said, it's just a sad part of what goes on, folks. Unfortunate with these hurricanes, and it's tough. UCF has had to battle this one season, last season, and this season around as well. having to have one less game, obviously for the safety of everybody. So they faced UConn and defeated them 56-17 on the road, faced South Carolina State and defeated South Carolina State at home 38-0, and then took on FAU in the high-powered offense of Lane Kiffin and defeated them 56-36 at home. They'll be facing Pittsburgh at home as well this Saturday, September 29th on ESPNU at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That is UCF at home against the ACC's Pitt. And this is what Josh Heupel had to say to me about his team at UCF this week.
To go a little bit deeper into Mackenzie Milton, just what you can say about what makes him special leadership-wise. I mean, we know he's talented on the field, but from poise to studying film to how he is, in the locker room, the things that we can't see, just what you can say about those big pieces.
When you first meet him, me just coming in December, very calm demeanor about himself, very, laid back demeanor. At the same time, when you get him in a competitive situation, I'm talking in the weight room, in the film room, or out on the practice field, every rep he's dialed into mentally and physically. He's very competitive in all those situations. Great players are always that way, and I think he does a great job. Just like out on the practice field, or if he's watching film with the entire offense of the wide receiver group in particular, he does a really good job of communicating specific details as far as what he's thinking or what he wants from those guys in a very positive way. And I think that's why they take, his constructive criticism or correction or coaching, in such a positive way.
Your team has found success early on here in the season, in your first season at UCF, with a lot of these guys that had come in before and were recruited by the other staff. What can you say about their connection to you and how quickly that came together? Was it positive from day one, in your opinion? Because you've been able to take a lot of these players that were there a season prior and to continue to have success with them despite the fact that you weren't the coach that was going out there recruiting them. So just what you can say about the relationship and how quickly that kind of connected.
I think relationships always take time. We came in and, I spoke to, what I was going to be about and how I was going to interact with them every day and the consistency that I wanted to have. But I also told them that, those words speak a lot louder than actions, or actions speak a lot louder than words, And as we went through, off-season training, then into spring ball, each phase of our program, there's a little bit of uneasiness because they don't know what each day is going to be like. But once they saw, what our daily routine was going to be like, they found a groove and found consistency in how we interacted, communicated with them on a daily basis. We spent a lot of time trying to build trust and build relationships because we haven't sat in their living room before, whether it's team barbecues, going to SeaWorld together, going to Orlando Magic game. Every player's been over to my house to eat dinner. They've been with their position coaches 2 to 3 times. We've spent a lot of time. We had a team softball game. We've spent a lot of time outside of the game of football just trying to get to know each other because that matters, and that's what real relationships are all about. And so I think the juniors and the seniors on this team that have gone through transition once before helped ease the transition, understanding how quickly you got to buy into it for it to be successful. And so that's helped with the young kids that maybe were just recruited by the previous staff, and this is their first change. So our leadership's been really good. We've given them ownership inside of our program and try to make sure that they have input on the things that matter to them as well.
That coming from Josh Heupel, once again, of Central Florida, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. We appreciate you tuning in. You see John Newman is sitting here. He'll be coming up at Collectible Corner in just a little bit. I want to thank all of the American Athletic Conference coaches for being a part of the broadcast today. We didn't have an opportunity to get to Kenny Amatololo, but I want to thank him for all of his time that he spends in our deeper, extensive conversations we've had throughout the last few seasons, as well as weekly on the teleconference. And as far as Navy goes, they are 2-2 on the season. They are off this week, and they will next be on the field against Air Force on October 6th, which is a Saturday at Air Force at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports Network. With that being said, we're going to end this video and come back with the ACC in just a few moments. You will hear from Justin Fuente of Virginia Tech, Dave Clawson of Wake Forest, as well as Willie Taggart of Florida State, Pat Narduzzi of Pittsburgh, and then we'll get into our Syracuse conversations as they get set to take on Clemson. All of that's coming up on Facebook Live and here on mixlr.com/WakeUpCall DT.